Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to get our meeting kicked off and get started. I would like to call the meeting to order. I do certify that a quorum of commissioners are present, and we have one more on the telephone with us. Mr. Perriman is on the telephone with us, and we have 3 present. Quorum. We start off our meeting with a prayer and a pledge to our flags, and gentlemen, we'll stand. I'll say a prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the blessings. Thank you this time of Thanksgiving that's given to us. Be with us. Ask you for protection, a hedge of protection around our firemen in the district. Be with us tonight as we discuss business and take care of the items on our agenda. This we ask in your holy name. Amen. Amen. No flag? Okay. Flag. All right. All right.
We can do it.
Here we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, one and indivisible. All right. Thank you. Guests, you are very welcome tonight. And then we go for public comments, number 4. Did anyone sign up for public comment tonight? Okay. Gentlemen, our consent agenda is item number 5, which contains the minutes. We had a budget hearing on September 28th, and then our regular meeting we had on November the 2nd. The items, the minutes are printed in your board books for your review. If you've had a chance to look at it, I would entertain a motion for approval if there's no comment.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. Motion has been made and seconded. And so, gentlemen, all in favor of approval of consent agenda 5A, 5B, signify by raising your right hand. Say aye. Aye. Motion carries. 6th item on our agenda tonight has to do with paying our bills. Our bills, anything over $2,000, our contract payments, and also bills from our construction account from that. Item number 6. Information on item number 6 is in your board books. If you've had a chance to review that.
Randy, I have a question, please. Can you explain to me the Lone Star generator? I know Leroy's not here, but I want to at least talk about it and see where.
Okay. Terry, you know.
That was a purchase for a generator for the command platform.
When did we give approval for the purchase?
I called Randy and he told me it would be an emergency approval because it was for a vital piece of equipment.
I didn't realize we could do that. It was my understanding if there's an emergency purchase to be made, it's emergency board meetings called. I didn't know he could act unilaterally. Is that in our policies and procedures?
It's a purchase that needed to be made. That's a piece of emergency equipment.
I don't argue
that. Needs to be repaired and not wait. So
Was there
no
other generators in the county that would serve this purpose? Portables? No other generators in the county that would serve this purpose, portables or otherwise?
No, that generator's on that command platform, and when you're transporting it, that generator has to be running. So it's integral part of the command platform.
I sure don't like that at all. I don't think that that's something that the board president can give a okay on. I realize you were acting as you thought, and I'm not aggravated at that. I'm aggravated at the way it was done. And did you know anything about it, Charles? No, I didn't either. I understand these people need to be paid, but it seems that we need to be doing a little bit better about how we do it. If that was the case, everything could be labeled an emergency because we're an emergency service and nothing that we can't really operate without any pieces of our tools. An incident management trailer I don't see being a emergency purchase or a justifiable one. I don't argue the fact that we needed it, but I just argue the fact of how it was done. And maybe that's just me.
Okay. Since you made those comments, do you wish to approve the item number 6, 6A, B, and C? Paying our bills?
I don't know how we don't. I mean, these folks have to be paid, so I'd like it done differently in the future, but if there's no other comments, I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase.
All right.
I'll second.
All right. Motion's been made to approve item number 6, and there's been a second. Gentlemen, yeah.
So I've got a question. In order to comply with the board's wishes, what are the parameters of expenditures over $2,000? Like right now, we've got a fire truck that's down, and it's going to be probably $5,000 or $6,000 to rebuild a pump. So I need to know what parameters to work under as far as...
I completely agree.
I don't know what to do.
I think this is more of a point that we're going to have to get some policies and procedures board-wise so that we know how to, go or move forward with it. Like I said, I have no problem with the purchase. I think it's something that needs to be done. It was more of me making a point, trying to let's figure out how to move forward because doing stuff like this isn't okay. That's the reason we have board meetings. I think that we probably need to get together as a board and decide that so that you have direction and know how to handle this in the future. But I just don't want this to happen again.
Right, so I guess my question is right now, and I don't know if we can legally make a decision or whatever, but what do we do on this, all the fire trucks and the things that are broke that's got to be repaired?
So the item tonight is approval of this.
do.
What you're asking for is something that should be discussed at a later meeting.
Right, I think he's just
Yeah,
asking for direction.
not at this time.
But what do I do with the fire trucks that are needing repair right now that are over $2,000 that falls under the same parameters as this? This was a piece of equipment that needed repair, so I don't know what to do. I don't know where to, you see what I'm saying?
I completely agree. And truthfully, I don't know the answer to that at this moment. I think if it's something that's over your allotted spending budget, we just have to call an
Larry,
emergency board meeting.
if you can
it
hear
is-
this, other than your test run, I'm not hearing any audio on my side.
Paul, can you hear us
Okay.
now? Okay.
I can hear you now, just for the first time ever, other than the test, about 30 minutes before the meeting.
Okay. All right.
What item are we on?
We're still on
item number 6. We've had a motion, and we've had a second to approve item number 6. I'm now going to call for a vote.
I want to make a comment on item number 6. I want to make a comment on item number 6.
All right, go ahead.
Matthew, have you talked about the generator being on there out of due process is 6362?
Yeah, Paul, I've kind of beat that dead horse at this point. We talked about the fact that the procedure was wrong, but then again, we don't really have a policy and procedure for this type incident. I don't think that right now Terry's asking us a direction. What do we do for stuff tomorrow that needs to be fixed that's over his approved expenditures? How does he go about there's a dead truck on the side of the road, how does he get it back to our maintenance or whatever it may be? And really, I don't have an answer for him on that right now, but I think it's something we need to iron out. We have to pay these folks. I mean, we already have the generator, but the problem's been identified, and I think we can move forward at this point.
I have a question.
Okay, I want to encourage,
Go ahead, Paul.
I want to encourage Johnny Brown and Brett Domney, when y'all get on the board, I encourage you to do a forensic audit. A forensic audit about 2 years back and see if this has happened more than once. And if it is, there'll be some interesting questions to be answered.
Okay. All right. Calling for the vote for the approval of item number 6. Gentlemen, do I hear approval of the items to pay our bills? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you.
I'm going to oppose it based on, put me down as a no vote.
Okay. Is it no for the entire thing or no for that one item of the generator?
That one item, just the one item.
Okay. All right. So noted. We move now to item number 7. Take necessary action on auction guidelines from the Texas Health and Safety Code 775. Terry?
Okay, last board meeting, the board told me to try to sell this equipment and stuff. Well, I went back and studied 775, and it states that the board shall adopt rules establishing guidelines for making the determination of how we sell this stuff. I talked with our attorney. He said we need to choose a method to sell this stuff with. And I've talked with, I called City of Tyler and talked with them, and they use an online auction. And there's parameters, without getting really deep into it, it refers back to section like 263.001 and stuff that gives parameters of how to do all this. So the City of Tyler uses an online auction to sell the equipment. So we need to decide, the board needs to decide if that's the way they want to go, and if that's the way they need to adopt it, that we will use an online auction. I've got a company, Auctioneer Express, out of Mount Pleasant, and they do a lot of the counties and cities and such. So I would make a suggestion that the board approve using the internet auction with this company, and we can sign up on the contract and use that company to disperse all the equipment, surplus equipment that we have. If we can do that and the board approves that, then I can move forward with actually filling the paperwork out and beginning the process of putting it on the internet auction, taking pictures and such as that. But I can't just take something from the board and say, go do it. Y'all have to actually have some actions about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. So once the board approves that, then that'll give me the direction of how to go with it. So.
So for us tonight, you're looking for, I guess, a motion to say, from now on, we'll use an online auction service and authorizing that particular company?
I would make the motion to use an internet auction site, and in that motion, I would also authorize Auctioneer Express out of Mount Pleasant to handle the internet auction. That's what they do. They do a lot of municipalities and cities and counties. And I did talk with City of Tyler, and they use one of 2 different auction companies, and this is the, I think, the best. I researched it, and they will do it, I think, for like 7.5% for up to 50,000. So if they sell something for less than 50,000, they take 7.5% of the proceeds for their handling of it. So I believe we've actually used them once before many years ago. I know I have used them, and I don't remember if it was for Dixie or for ESD2, but I think it's probably the best way. And like I said, our attorney approved it. He said this is the way we need to go. And then he thought the internet auction was probably the best. And then we've got, along with this auction, along with that same thing, is about the ARP fire station kind of grouped into it. And I've got some more information on that we need to do a different type way to sell it. And we can do it all at once, or we can group this into two different motions under this one heading, however you want to do it.
Did you say this company can do an online real estate auction as well?
No, the attorney gave me some parameters on that. You want me to discuss it now before we get to this? Okay, so the ARP fire station currently over here is in the name of ARP Fire Department. So they've got controlling interest of that fire station. I talked with Mac, and he said that, and we've done a little research, that we've got roughly $30,000 that we put into that fire station, plus buying land and such. We're out about $30,000. Okay. So the city of ARP wants the first shot at that property and that building. So we could allow ARP Fire Department to sell it to City of ARP for like $30,000, and that way we could recoup the money that we've got in it, and then they could buy it for $30,000, which is well under market value. But you can actually sell from a government entity to a government entity for less than market value. You can sell it at an agreed price. Okay. So Max said he's okay with it if he can offer it to City of ARP for $30,000. If they want to pay it, then they can turn around and sell it and give us the proceeds to recoup our $30,000. That way, like people that live in Chapel Hill or White House, they're recouping the money that they put in. In other words, they've got interest into that fire station building also. So it allows us to recoup it. So there's kind of a two-part deal to this auction deal. Is we need to make a decision on the internet auction and what we want to do with that building.
Well, I'll go ahead and make the motion on the first bit of it, which I guess this won't necessarily apply to ARP Station 2, or the ARP Station, but I make a motion that we authorize Terry to use an online auction service to disperse of our surplus equipment, and this time to use Auctioneer Express. That's my motion.
Okay.
It doesn't tie your hands, I don't think. You can, if you have to use somebody, if you don't like these folks later.
All right. Okay. Matt's made the motion, and Charles has seconded that motion. So, gentlemen, all in favor of approving the online auction as a way to dispose our capital equipment and using the online auction plus the auction company that you just mentioned, I guess signify approval by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion will carry for that. Do we need, I guess this is a point of question as far as selling the property. Can we do it under item number 7 tonight as far as the ARP, or do we need to have a separate item on another agenda? A later agenda as far as?
Well, it's basically all comes under the 775 stuff. So our attorney's here if he might want to weigh in on that. I'm not sure.
Excellent.
Okay.
But my question is, is the board in agreement on the 30,000 that we feel like that we have in all of that property over there? I guess that's my question. If you feel like that's about what we have in it, and from what our files and stuff looks like, that's about what we have in it.
I would definitely be in agreement to those terms.
I would too. If it pleases them, it pleases me. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
We need a motion.
No,
Yep.
no, he doesn't need action.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about it and we voted on it, and it's time to move on to item number 8. Discuss take necessary action on Flint Gresham Attack 2. If you'll see in your book under number 8, estimate repair that is $18,528.30 is the estimate to repair that vehicle from that. Terry, you want to?
I want to know your thoughts because that's a lot of money to do a repair.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't put the money in it, but I need direction from the board of what we want to do. Do we want to go ahead and try to do a replacement chassis? And if so, then I can go through HGAC and get the proper chassis and bring the cost back next month, and the board can approve it. But I need to know what direction the board wants to go on that.
As far as in the budget, can we afford a new cab chassis? I mean, I don't think that we didn't budget for one for Flint, did we?
We did not budget for one, so it's going to be one of those issues that it's unexpected expenditure. And I mean, we've got the money in it. We've got the money there to do it. We just may have to hold off on purchasing something else or whatever. But, you know, that's one of those things that the truck is very important. That's a key truck of theirs, and it's been down for a while, and it's been around different places trying to get it repaired, and finally this is the outcome, which is another one of the Ford diesels that we have issues with. So.
Yeah, I think that 18,000 is bad money, and it's time to buy a new one and then sell this and trade this in and get salvage value or whatever we can from it.
I agree.
So I guess the action you're going to hear from us to make a motion is make a motion to not to repair this. You go out next month and bring us bids and what it needs to replace as far as a new vehicle, cabin chassis. Yeah.
What have we gone to as far as cabin chassis? What have we gone to?
We've been using the F450 with a gas engine.
Is that bed on that truck, can we use it? I know it's a single wheel truck. Can we put?
No, I don't think
We'll have
that's
to
a
start from
single.
the ground up on that
That's
one.
not the single wheel truck, is it, Chief?
No, Attack 2 is not. I'm sorry. I forgot. That's
Okay.
okay. Well, then I don't need.
We'll get with Mike and and Seth, and we look at what the truck is and what's comparable, and then that's where we ask for quotes on it after we look at what it is. And then we should be able to have something back by the next board meeting.
All right. Charles made the motion.
I did.
Yeah, Matt, you're gonna second that motion. So gentlemen, all in favor of taking that action, say, let's go and let's talk about buying a new one to replace it. So gentlemen, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Ninth item on our agenda tonight has to do with action on opening for a battalion chief.
I think that's something HR probably will work through.
Refer to Ms. Catherine.
So recently we had one of our battalion chiefs approach us, and he wanted to step down to a lieutenant position due to all of the new hires that were coming on. He felt more comfortable being in a lieutenant position. At this time we have a captain that has stepped up into the BC position, but we want to see if the board is willing to replace that position.
Well, position is in the budget,
Correct.
and I would like to see it replaced, but also in the way of looking inside first, the organization, and then outside. You know, post it internally first, and then post it externally.
We'll post it 3 days internally, and then we'll post it externally. That's what's lawful. And then we will do the interview process. Corey and I will come up with the interview process. Basically, it will just most likely be some sort of test and then an interview.
Okay.
And it'll be an outside panel that determines who the new BC will be. It will not be anyone inside ESD2.
Yeah. Correct.
And for full disclosure on that, this would add one more person to our staff. In other words, what we've done, if we've allowed the current battalion chief to step down to lieutenant, so that adds us a extra person if we hire another battalion chief. So we would up the manning by one person by doing that.
So he didn't fill a vacant lieutenant position. We created a lieutenant position.
Right, correct. We changed it from a battalion chief rank to a lieutenant, and currently he's working as a lieutenant. And so the captain stepped up to battalion chief. A lieutenant here stepped up to captain. So it still stays the same, but if we go ahead and make a battalion chief, we will add one more person to the payroll.
If we don't hire internally from within.
Right.
Are you planning to add a person?
Go ahead, Paul.
I want to clarify two position, a new person, not replace. The question at hand is, are you trying to replace or you want to add a new position?
Well, Paul, can you hear me all right? Can you hear me, Paul?
I can hear you. I can't hear Terry very good at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happened is a lieutenant position was made for the individual that stepped down from battalion, and now we have a vacant battalion. So a position was created. Let me know that you understood me.
Position created without talking to the board. Why, after all we've gone through recently, why was a position created without talking to the board?
Why was the position created without a board meeting?
So my understanding is, I just did the investigation on this one. So basically, the battalion chief came to us. He wanted to step down to lieutenant. So it was either terminate or let him step down to a lieutenant. We already had all the other lieutenants in place when he came to us. So this was after the hiring of the new folks. So, I mean, we didn't feel that it was justifiable terminating him. There wasn't any terminatable offense. So we allowed him to step down to lieutenant. And this.
That puts us between a rock and a hard place.
All right, so here's the thing. Currently, the way it's working is the captain has stepped up to battalion chief, a lieutenant has stepped up to captain, so it's been a round robin, basically.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there's been no one hired, there's been no additional staff or anything. So currently, it's working, and if the board chooses to do that, so be it. We can live with it for a while like it is. I mean, it's working. But when we have a battalion chief that doesn't feel real comfortable in that position and wants to go back to a lieutenant, then it's the right thing to do there. And then we just move back up from the other positions up to act in these other two positions. So, I mean, I don't know what else to do.
Is that how would they just, would the of Tyler just asked the board to create a new position like that?
Paul, you're very mumbled, or it's all jumbled up. Can you try again?
Okay. Would Tyler agree with how we're doing this? The city of Tyler just created a new position out of thin air. How we're doing this is backwards.
So Paul, in this instance, when you're looking at it from a human resource perspective, the issue is you have a battalion chief that wants to step down as a lieutenant because he is not comfortable in the battalion chief position. There's no terminatable offense, and I can't force a resignation. So what was done was what we felt we should do in this situation. We had nowhere else to put him. And I would rather have moved him to a lieutenant than been in a lawsuit over forcing a resignation.
I agree. On that front.
My point. The city of Tyler would not just either city will do that.
I do agree with Paul as well, though. I don't think that was done correctly, and I think I'd like to refer to our attorney at a future date on this deal. But with this being said, for the time being, I'd like to table this until the first of the year. Let's talk about it and see how we need to move forward. I'd like to talk with Mike some more about it as well. I don't feel comfortable filling the position at this time. All right. So I make a motion to table.
Okay, motion's been made to table the issue at this time. Do I hear a second? Okay. Charles is making the second of that motion.
Make a second.
Okay, the motion's been made, and the motion's been seconded. Gentlemen, all in favor of tabling item number 9, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we've tabled that motion. 10th item on our agenda tonight is...
Randy, that motion was warranted. Randy, just so you know.
Paul, go ahead.
Motion was warranted. The table that till the first of the year.
Yes, that was a motion.
The motion was specific for. Okay, thank you.
Okay. 10th item on the agenda is taking this action on driver engineer positions. Catherine, is that back to you?
Back to me. So driver operator, driver operator engineer, basically we have millions of dollars of equipment now at these particular stations where we have these folks serving 24 hours. So the thought process is, in order for those trucks, somebody to have kind of, I guess, look over those trucks and be responsible for that equipment, what we wanted to do is do an internal promotion and test for this particular position. We wouldn't be hiring anyone. It would be testing within the organization for these particular positions. So it would just basically be a promotional issue. And it is in the budget. This was something that we worked into the compensation plan when I first came on board. Y'all asked me to review that, and I did put in for driver engineer.
Do you already have a job description written? Is it in here?
It's not in there, but I can give it, I can send it to all of you.
Okay.
Under a separate cover.
I would like to see that, but otherwise I have no problem with, I mean, it was budgeted. That's how a professional fire department is structured.
We just feel like with the amount of equipment we have now that somebody really needs to be kind of responsible for that. And then we want to make sure that whoever is the driver engineer is the one pumping that truck. We don't want somebody going out to a fire and pumping that truck that shouldn't be pumping that truck.
I agree.
so Matthew, are you gonna make a
I'm
motion?
trying to think of how I want to word that. I would like to see the job descriptions prior, if that's okay. So I don't know if we need to. Please. And so I don't know that needs any action at this time. I think it'll be December, if that's okay. So I'll make a motion, we table it until December. At that time, we'd like to see the job descriptions and hiring process.
How many driver positions are you talking about?
15 total.
15? Okay. All right. So if I understood you, your motion is to table it until December where you can have a chance to look at it, at the job description?
Yeah, we are having a December meeting, yes? Or we are planning on having that?
Typically we do.
Okay, then yes, December.
Okay. All right, so Matthew's made a motion. Table this to get more information to us? Okay. Yeah, Charles seconds that motion. Chairman,
So,
all in favor?
Randy,
Did you have something?
hold on just a moment, let me take. So the next board meeting is going to be December the 28th. Do we want to wait and do it in January and let the new board do all this stuff? I mean, if we just move our board meeting from December the 28th to January the 4th, then the new board will be in place, and then we won't have to go through all this waiting and all, you know?
Okay.
Just a suggestion.
Well, then let that motion die and I'll make a new one.
All right, go ahead, Matt.
I'll make a motion that we look at the job descriptions or y'all get us the job descriptions and hiring process for the January meeting after the new board is set.
Okay. Sounds good.
So for clarification, we will not have a meeting in December, but we will have one the 1st of January, which would actually be all of the stuff in December. Is that
That suits me
correct?
fine. Yes, sir.
All right. Charles, you going to second his motion?
Yes.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Take care of that. 11th item on our agenda tonight has to do with increasing the retirement contributions from 5% to 7% for our employees.
So Terry did ask me to review that. Currently, I think he has about $225,000 in the budget for retirement, and just adding the additional 2% on the employer match, it would take it to about $178,000. So we're well within budget on that, even with the additional personnel.
And just for clarification, we are 5% currently, and the employees are 7%, so we're going to come up to a 1-to-1 match, correct?
We're 1-to-1 currently. It's 5 and 5, so the employees would come up to 7 and we would come up to 7. So
Okay, so we're each coming up.
Yeah, we're each coming up,
But it'll
2% on each side.
It'll still
yes.
be 1-to-1. Mm-hmm. I have no problem.
This is where we'll cap out as far as the employees go. So that's the most that they can put in is the 7. And then after that, it would just be ESD2 that would be.
And that caps, if we go up to the cap, it's 14, correct?
Correct.
Okay, 2-to-1.
Now that the train is moving away, Charles is. Did you have a question, Paul? Okay. Charles was making.
I've kind of been to raises at 1% a year in the past.
I'm not sure about that, Paul. In the past, I don't have any information on that, but I mean, we had discussed giving a 1% raise, but we didn't know if the board was willing to do that.
Simple question. Terry, hasn't our policy been to raise it 1% a year in the past?
I don't know that there's actually been a policy. It's just been that we talk about it each year and decide 1%. But we're just asking for 2% this year. I don't know that there's a policy that stated that anywhere.
Well, our intentions was to do this over.
In a year.
our intention was over a multi-year policy to go up to a maximum of 7%. And this is another increase. Okay. All right. Okay. So Charles is making.
The question is, why is it being doubled?
Paul, they're trying to get up to a one-to-one match with the employees.
Okay, I want to make a motion that we go 1% versus 2%.
All right. Well, first Charles made a motion for 2%, and you made a motion for 1% increase. So we first had a motion to raise the 2%. I'm first going to call for a second to that motion that I heard first. Okay? And then if there's no second to the first motion, then we'll talk about a second to the second motion. So the first motion was to increase contribution from 5% to 7% match. Charles made the motion for the approval of that motion. He made the motion. And now I'm calling for a second. Do I hear a second to the motion?
I'll give you the second. I believe a one-to-one match is fair.
Okay. All right. So we've had a motion to raise it from 5 to 7. That's the motion. It's been made and seconded. It's now time to vote on that motion. So all those in favor of increasing retirement contribution to the 7% level, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right. Motion carries from that. Okay. Item number 12. Well, we voted for the first motion to make that 7% match. Yeah. The one-to-one match. Yeah. All right. Number 12 is necessary action on the IT technician position, and this is a new position. Ms. HR?
So if you will look in your books, you'll see the job description. So basically, this position will assist Larry and Robert. This position would be a help desk position, basically. So I believe they'll be coming in around 10 o'clock in the morning and be staying till after 7. And that way there's more, and all they're going to be working on is tickets. If they cannot get the tickets done or do the badges or help with whatever assistance needs to be done, then it would be moved up to Robert. If Robert can assist, then it would be moved up to Larry. So this would just help because Robert and Larry are in the field most of the time, so a lot of people get very frustrated because they cannot get a hold of anyone, a person in IT, so we feel like this would be a very important position. I have looked at the comp on this position, and basically I would comp it out at about $40,000 to $42,000. And it would be a new position, so it would be a new position to the budget, so extra personnel.
Well, the one thing that I heard a few weeks ago that I was unaware of is the fact that we have unresolved help desk tickets. And it's just a perpetual issue need somebody to take care of that help desk and take care of
It really
issues.
is. I mean, it's difficult right now. They're having to make appointments to come in to see Larry or Robert, and they're
Yeah.
both out in the field with some of the issues at the ARP station and then at the Flint Gresham that they're trying to resolve, or at the other stations. So it would be really beneficial, I think, for everyone, even the volunteers, to have someone there, staffing from 10 to 7. So Robert would start coming in at 6. He would be there on site until 10. Then he would go and do his other duties, and then from 10 to 7, we would have someone else there strictly at the desk.
all of the help desk tickets going to get resolved?
Yes, yes,
I
it will.
certainly
And this
hope
will
so.
also help on new accounts. So a big problem that we have right now for the volunteers is volunteer availability for new account processes, coming in to get their new user account set up, getting the ID card, the fit test, the accountability tags, radios, pagers, getting all that stuff issued to a new member when that member's having to work Monday through Friday, 8 through 5, same as we are. So being able to extend those hours from 6 a.m. till 7 p.m. should increase that availability to the volunteers to have on-site help available.
And your card maker and everything, that's all stationary, so it's not something they could go to a volunteer meeting.
Correct.
They need to come to the ESD office.
Yes,
But it could be done on meeting night, almost.
correct.
You know. I'd like to hear y'all's thoughts on it, honestly.
Hey, we need someone to take care of, resolve the tickets while they're doing whatever they're doing. We need somebody there in the office to take care of the business.
The way I understood it structured, you handle everything from accounts and contracted things. He's going to do most of the field work with your assistance, I'm sure, on some stuff, and this person will be strictly for help
Correct. So
desk.
this person will be dedicated to the office. That's all they'll do. They won't do any field work at all. Anything that requires field work would be escalated from that person to Robert. Robert will handle most of the field work unless it's something, drastic and we have to go different directions. I'll still be available to help with field work. Rob's also going to manage all of the mobile devices. Instead of that being split between the two of us, he'll take all of that, which lets me focus on information security. It lets me focus on the policies that we need to put in place and oversight of what's going on, as well as all the contract negotiations that we do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, we need somebody in the office to take care of the folks that we have out in the field and their needs.
Yeah, I definitely think it'll help
Yeah.
streamline our IT process. I think,
Okay.
I don't disagree with that.
Okay. So you gonna make a motion?
He's
Okay.
already made it.
Okay, Charleston making a motion to approve this position. Matthew will second that motion. That's right. Jim and all in favor of increasing the IT technician position, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 13 on our agenda tonight has to do with our tablet replacement project. Comes in over 22,000 and item number 13 on our board book. If you've had a chance to look at tab 13, Larry has wrote out some information, talks about the history of the project, and a number of our current tablets that we have are towards the end of the life from them, and he says we now have 92 tablets deployed. What he was asking to do is try and replace half of our tablets each year, trying to 50% each year. That way our tablets are no older than 2 years. And I do like your hand-me-down program, in case one goes out, how you moved them up in the order of priority at each department from that. Anyway, it's all laid out in his memo to us from that. And obviously, with newer equipment, you're going to have less breaking down, but on a 2-year replacement plan. Larry, you have anything to add other than your memo to us?
Nothing other than that's in the memo. Just to put it on the record that these tablets are over 4 years old now. So they've taken a beating. They've doubled their expected lifespan.
Yeah.
The drawback to that is there's no resale value on the tablets that we have.
Well, and maybe I missed it. What will be so if we cycle these on every 2 year, what's our resale value versus do we get enough money reselling them to make it worth buying every other year rather than every 2 years? Does that make sense? They lasted over 4 years.
So it'd be every other year, and the plan that I have will be to take the 50% that we replace this year, and those will get handed, so the tablets that we replace this year, the better tablets will get handed down to the second out trucks. Then the new tablets go into the primary trucks. Next year, we'll buy new tablets for the primary trucks again. The tablets that were purchased this year will be rolled down to the secondary trucks, and they'll live their life there for a year. So you'll always have a new tablet in the truck for a year. You'll have it in your secondary trucks. They'll be a year old to 2 years old, and then at 2 years, they'll get taken out and resold.
What do we expect the resale value of those to be?
They're normally going to be about 33%.
33% of the original purchase price?
At 2 years.
So so you do not think it would be better to rotate them out on a 2-year cycle? Each tablet lasts us 2 years?
We can do 2 years. 2 years in our environment is pretty harsh on these tablets. I'm surprised. We've done a lot of work to keep them going. I mean, we've done battery replacements and a lot of work to these tablets that's taken up a lot of time on our side. So we probably haven't saved very much limping these tablets along other than just replacing them. These trucks, the tablets are sitting in these trucks in the bays that are not in climate control, and they're getting hot, they're going down the road, they're getting beat up. We're not easy on them. We don't use them how they're designed. So the longer you stretch that time out, the lower that resale value is going to be. Just like right now, they're 4 years old, we're not going to get anything on them. And we could do this, however, really what I'm asking for right now is a replacement of the 50%. We have a lot of tablets that are going down. So if the board's not comfortable making the decision to enter into a recycle program where we're doing this on a perpetual basis, that's fine. We'd still have to come back to you next year for the approval of the rest. But this is just my plan going forward.
Is that an agreement we sign into?
No, this is just my plan, so y'all can adjust that however you see fit.
Is there an agreement to sign into where they're guaranteed to buy them back?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, I know that there are a lot of them in bad shape. I've seen them swollen. I've seen them where they don't work, cracked screens, everything else. I think at this time I'd feel more comfortable doing just replacing the first 50% and then let us decide what to do on the next ones in the future, and also we'll kind of put these through the ringer and see how they work. But it's essentially the same tablet that we...
No, we bought very budget tablets last time. We bought them end of life because we had so many to purchase up front. These tablets are a higher end tablet. We expect them to be faster, a little more durable, and they should get better use and just be faster all around. They're a lot bigger processor. They're a little bigger screen. These aren't the budget tablets that we were purchasing before, but we'll get better use out of them.
I like that route anyway. I think that's a good plan in my opinion.
Yeah, and just to be clear, this plan that I laid out for you is just my recommendation. It's not something that you have to follow, so the 50% is fine.
I like it. I don't disagree with your plan, but I'd like to at least kind of test these out and see. I mean, there's nothing that says we don't do that in the coming year.
Right.
Just go ahead and enter into it, because we're not shooting ourselves in the foot now for later, I think.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. So I take that as a motion.
I will make a motion to replace
Make a motion to
50% of the
approve purchase.
tablets.
All right,
for
Charles has seconded that motion.
$22,299.
Yeah. So all in favor of approval of the tablet replacement project for $22,299, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 14 on our agenda tonight is take necessary action on administrative assistant position. This is a new position.
So currently, we have moved Sarah off the front desk because she does most of the financials for us. And I was very uncomfortable with the fact that we have so many people coming in and those financials are just spread across her table. She's taken on a lot with the financial coordinator position, so therefore we feel like we need an administrative assistant to kind of do filing and to assist with, answering the phone and things like that. We currently have my son in there, and believe me, you don't want him there for a very long period of time. He's not as efficient as Sarah, and he's just helping us out in the interim. But we were wanting to see if we could hire an administrative assistant. This would be a receptionist type position. It'd be about $13.50 an hour, so we're not talking a huge amount of money. We're talking maybe about, I think about $28,000 at $13.50 an hour. But they would be there from 8 to 5. So, and I feel like it's a necessary position. Just in order to kind of maintain some confidentiality, especially on the financials when she's working on those.
Would we find this person first through like a temporary staffing service?
We could hire him temp to
Temp to
full-time,
Yeah.
full-time hire. That's going to cost you a little more money just because you're paying the temp service as well. We have had some interest from an employee that used to be at ESD2 that's very familiar. I believe her last name is Malloy, I believe. But she used to be there, and she's expressed some interest. We would go through the hiring process like we normally did, or if y'all wanted to temp to hire, we could do that as well. Just however you feel comfortable. It's just temp to hire. Just want you to be aware that you're going to spend more money because you're paying for the temp service as well.
I think we may be in agreement that position is needed. Okay? But if you have a candidate that may work out, that could be interested prior to even looking through a temp service.
Yeah, I think that Larry and JD and Terry are very aware of this person and that she's very familiar with ESD2 and all the things that go with it and the computer system and all of that. So I would think she would be very viable.
Okay. In that same pay range
I would think
talked
so,
about?
yeah. I think that was, I'm sorry.
Paul, did you have a comment?
Come again, Paul. Does he have a chat option?
Well, what I'd like to see is, I think there's an agreement the position is needed. And as far as us to approve the hiring and whether or not it goes through somebody that might be interested in the job, versus, going to a temp service. I think that's more of a internal type matter, but I think the approval would be to, obviously, if the board voted the approval is to go ahead and start the process.
Yeah, if we didn't have interest from the candidate, I would come back to the board and we could discuss going through a temp agency at that point.
Well, we can hear everything that's not needed. But we can't hear him when he needs to say something. I'd still like to see it. I have no problem with her. I think she was a good employee when she was here. Obviously, she's eligible for rehire, but she knows our stuff, and we don't have to train another person. But I would like to at least put the position out. Go jump through the hoops. Yeah, but
Definitely, you have to do that. So I would put it out. I would actually advertise it, and then we would go through just the selection like we always do through the interview process. And I always prefer to have a board member interview as well, just so we're all on the kind of the same page, or maybe two board members.
okay. You've got a motion on the floor.
Make a motion? What's your motion?
Basically what y'all just said.
Okay, so the deal is, we would create the administrative position, okay, and authorize our staff to to go about the process of possibly interviewing and then bringing a successful candidate to the board for approval.
At a rate of $13.50 an hour.
Yeah, okay. All right, so Charles is making the motion. I believe Matt will second that motion.
I will second the motion.
Yeah, all right. Gentlemen, all in favor of the approval of the administrative assistant position, say aye. Aye. Okay, motion carries. No one opposed. Okay, all right. 15th item tonight is, has to do action on a PTO policy. It's called Paid Time Off Policy, and it's under it's under 15 in our book. Do you want to explain that to us between the 56 work week and the 40-hour work week? And
So basically, with the creation of all the 24-hour positions, we needed to come up with some ways for them to do for us to do a bid policy so where they could bid on their days off, especially for the holidays. So the policy basically is based on seniority, and then we will do like a bid over, I guess, over the radio for their days off. What we have done in order to kind of eliminate paying holiday pay, we are giving them 132 hours of holiday pay up front, so there is no overtime. And what we do is we take the PTO or the holiday out first when they're taking PTO, and then they can keep a portion of their PTO, but we limit the amount that they can keep to 195 hours. So you don't have this big buildup of PTO that you're going to have to pay out. You don't pay out sick time, but you do pay out PTO when an employee leaves. So, and then also the same on the sick time. We're adjusting how they accrue, because right now you're at 6 and 6 on your 24 hours, and a lot of people are using their sick time for PTO time, and in order to alleviate that, we're giving them more PTO and less sick time, because people are not tending to use their sick time, especially on your 24-hour shifts, because usually, I mean, they're working 24 hours, they're off 2, and then they come back and work another 24. So this is how we kind of arrange this, and then you'll also see at 10 years they progress. They get some more PTO and a little more sick time. And this policy went through Eric Calder, and he and I worked on this together, but we feel like it's a sound policy.
This is comparable to what Tyler and
Longview or
and do that?
anyone, yeah, anyone else would do.
And explain to me the bid process again. What was you said radio or something?
Yeah, they're going to do it over the radio, so each shift will get an opportunity to bid. So let's say Terry wanted off Christmas, JD wanted off,
Okay.
So they would bid on it, and we would only allow, I think, was it three personnel per shift to be off?
And it's a seniority-based?
Yes, yes.
Gotcha.
And we would force them to take 5.5 shifts off because of the 132 hours, because they wouldn't be able to roll that over just the 195.
Gotcha.
the one thing I saw on this, I'm assuming it's a draft, but it's got letter G in it, and there's no G section for that. I mean,
Do you have any other questions on it? It does alleviate a lot of overtime, and especially the holiday pay where you're paying double time.
Yeah, I have no problem with adopting this policy. With that, I'll make a motion to adopt the, the PTO policy. Sir.
all right. Motion's been made to adopt the policy, and Charles has seconded the motion. Gentlemen, all in favor of approval of the PTO policy, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. 16th item on our agenda tonight has to do with a newly revised grievance policy. From that, I think that's one of your first tasks we asked you to do when you came to see us.
Yes.
Came to work here with us, but.
So the grievance policy that y'all had in place really did not apply to administrative personnel at all. So what I did is I reviewed your grievance policy. I felt like it didn't have enough layers in it. So you want to start out with an informal grievance and then move to your formal. So that's what this policy lays out, and then it also lays out for administration how they would go. So for your fire suppression, you would have several members that would, you would have 2 board members that would serve on that committee. I named Charles and Leroy because they've been on the committee for some time. And I wasn't sure at the time because I was working on through the election process, so this can all change. But you would have one of your association fire personnel on there as well. That would be named by the association. And then you would have an outside fire personnel as well, suppression person that would come in from the outside. And then you would have 3 non-voting members, which would be myself, our personnel attorney, and then Terry. So to me, this gives you the layers that you need and gives you kind of what you need as far as a grievance committee. It's not going to be just, you're going to have some outside influences coming in and kind of giving you their thoughts. And to me, I think it's important for HR, Terry, and our personnel attorney to be there just to kind of guide to make sure that we're following everything as far as the letter of the law, as far as how it's handled. As far as the administration portion, it would come to me first, and then it would go to the grievance committee. And then on the grievance committee there, you'd basically have 3 people. You'd have 2 board members and an outside administrator, basically an HR administrator that would come in. And again, you'd have 3 non-voting members, Terry, myself, and our personnel attorney. So this would give you what you need for administration as well. This would really be far better than the policy that you had before. Eric and I've worked closely on this one as well to make sure that we had everything drafted to the way that y'all kind of wanted it drafted. He felt like it was a really sound policy.
Okay, would you look under number X? Okay, all right, so page 4, under item number X, talks about the voting members, and it says 5 voting members here, but there's only 3 voting members according to what I see.
On the administration?
This is on the administrative.
Okay, it would be 3, so I'll need to fix that.
So
okay.
it says 3 non-voting, 3 voting, and then you name the voting, and you said the 5 voting. So
Okay.
if you'll
Yeah, I'll fix that. Yeah.
Just typo type deal.
And Charles and Leroy very well may want to stay on it, and that's.
It's up to you all. The board is the one that I just would allow the board to choose.
But yeah, can we just make that say something like the 2 selected
Board members, yeah,
That
because that way we don't have
we're
to
not gonna
change the
amend it.
policy
Right.
all the time,
I
amend
know
it.
Tim from Troops on it too.
Right. Well, yeah, and this was just for the commissioners, because if we name you and Leroy specifically, one day when y'all roll off the board, it will have to be amended, and that'll just
Right.
save us a step.
Yeah, we can. Mhm.
Yeah. With that, I make a motion, we adopt the grievance policy
Okay.
with those changes. Thank you.
Motion has been made and seconded for the adoption of the grievance policy. Gentlemen, all in favor say aye. 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 Any opposed? Motion carries. From that, grievance policy. Gonna skip by 17 and go to 18. Radio policy. I think several of you have probably had a chance to review some of his policies before, but his policy is in the book. Larry, you want to say anything about it?
Yeah, I'm gonna need y'all's input on the, on page 3. The last paragraph there, I gave y'all 4 kind of just Kickstarter options on, just to give y'all some ideas on some different ways that you could look at recouping costs or putting some teeth into this policy. We've approached the board before on this, and I just need the board to kind of point us in the right direction on what y'all want to see that last part of that policy to look at, to look like.
If I may, I'd like to, Larry and I have already talked about this at pretty good length, and I want to ask Tim with the association, to help us with this. So the question is, and I know you don't have a book in front of you, we want the volunteers to have a little bit of skin in the game, because I know that I have gone and retrieved personally radios that have fallen off the back of a truck or whatever, and some young people that probably shouldn't have had them, that we never saw them again. So we want them to have a little skin in the game up front. And I personally like the last two options, and I'm going to go ahead and read them to you, but I want you to. So one of them is the cost must be paid by the individual prior to the new equipment being issued. There's not many volunteer firemen that have $4,000 laying in their pocket to do this. Then there's one that says the fire department and the individual are going to split the cost 50-50. Well, even though it's the fire department, it's still us. So I kind of felt like, and it's still $2,000 is kind of hard to come up with too. So the other two is there's an insurance deductible and possibly a fee, or the firemen pay a upfront deposit essentially, and if something happens, then we keep the deposit. If nothing happens, then the deposit's returned to them. I don't know if any of those four options are good options. Those are some that Larry came up with. I think two of them are viable, the other two probably not so much, but I'd like to see this go before at least the chiefs. Y'all help us make a decision on this. I personally feel like, do what? Oh, Paul, do you want to weigh in on this? Did you try to say something? No. Anyway, that's just kind of my thought on it, because I don't know I've thought on this ever since we talked about it, and I don't know what a good option is. I mean, do we want to make them, I mean, right, yeah, I'm not expecting any.
Well, I'm not sure of any four is one best option. I mean, there's not a one best option from here. To me, it's going to be a case by case. You got to have some guidelines somewhere.
Absolutely.
You know,
I told Larry I fully support this policy. I just want to find the best way, because I know as a new volunteer fireman, and if y'all had asked me for $4,000, I'd have walked out the same door I came in. So I want their help on maybe coming up with a policy, and we put a deadline. We need to, I say we table this until January with the rest of the stuff, and then we need to act on it, because I mean, we get new people every day. So this is a policy that's very well needed, but that gives us a little time to come up with what the best plan is. Can we have a chief's meeting between now and then? Okay. Yeah. If in that case, I'd move to table.
All right. Motion's been made and seconded to table item number 18. So, gentlemen, all in favor of tabling it, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So the radio pager policy has been tabled. 19 on our agenda tonight has to do with the adoption of the 2021 holiday schedule. Typically, we have followed Smith County government, their particular holiday schedule when we adopted our schedule. So does this follow Smith County's kind of?
It should be the same. I got it straight from their website.
Okay. That's all I wanted. That's all I want to know, JD. All right. Charles makes the motion to approve the holiday schedule. Matthew seconds that motion. So, gentlemen, all in favor of the adoption of the 2021 holiday schedule, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries from that. All right. While we're here, I'm going to go ahead and take care of item number 20 while we're here. And so let me, typically I call on each department alphabetically by community. ARP, Chief from ARP. There you are, Mac. How you doing? Chapel Hill is next. Chief Peterson, I see you back there. Well, no, I'm sorry. Bullard, you're next. Chief Walker. Thank you. Now, Dale, to you. All right, thank you, sir. Dixie, Chief York, I saw you here, didn't I? Yeah. All right. Flint's next. Do I see Flint?
Everything good, Tim? Stone?
Oh, there you are up front. I'm looking back that way for you, Tim. All right. Thank you. Jackson? Jackson. There you are. Thank you. Noonday. Chief. Thank you, sir. Rich Springs.
How's your hand? Surgery, December 23rd. Good. My 7th.
All right, thanks, Mike. Troop. Okay, well,
I'd like to ask a question on that. Are we doing anything to notify the departments that are used to having staffing? Like in this instance, are we sending an email out or anything that says, hey, you guys don't have anybody to cover?
The battalion chiefs are supposed to be. Now, if that's not happening, I need to know about it. Okay, so you're only getting the actual duty roster that is generated. Okay. I'll
Maybe an email to this department and a call to the chief.
I would say a phone call, and it's supposed to be,
okay, all right. Thank you, Chief. White House. Okay.
Some of the things, and this is not an excuse, it's just the facts. We have a lot of part-time firefighters that are full-time firefighters at other departments. Well, I know you don't want to hear about COVID, but the COVID issue is that some of these departments are hit real hard, so they're requiring mandatory overtime from people that work for us part-time. So when they're having to do mandatory overtime at their home department, they're not able to come up and work for us. So it's a trying time. I understand that, and we're doing the best we can do. But right now, that is one of the issues that we're having. But we'll do the best we can trying to get them staffed.
On that, we implemented the volunteer stipend policy, if I recall. I know particularly in Bullard, forgive me, I don't know the rest of them. Have we started, I know that there's two men that were there that alternated on a day that they only had one individual there as staff, and the volunteers, one took the first half of the shift, one took the second half of the shift. Are we doing anything stipend-wise or does that fall under how does that work?
We're still working on the scheduling side of that. I have had, Chief Walker and I have talked a little bit about what you're talking about. And I told him I was going to follow up with him this week, so maybe we can make some headway there.
Yeah, I'd like to see that expedited because I think it's a pretty big issue that we have currently that hopefully doesn't last much longer, but we really don't know how much longer it'll last. So just, I want to make sure they're being taken care of too, because they're...
So what I would like to see happen, and Chief Clinton and JD, we're in one of those times, it's kind of an emergency situation. So if we have volunteers that the fire chief of that department, if one of his volunteers wants to go ahead and start this shift stopping, I'm good with it as long as we look at them and we clear them. Chief Clinton can clear them. That does not mean that in the future that they will not have to meet some different parameters, okay? Because we've talked about different kinds of physical fitness, exercise, anything, but right now we're in that mode. So if we can expedite that to where a volunteer out here that can do like they were doing at Bullard, then we need to implement the stipend program, get them some money in hand. Let's move forward with that while JD gives him a little more breathing room to get all the parameters put together for the actual stipend like we want it on the training and such as that. So that would be my best case scenario, is to go ahead and let them contact either the captain or Chief Clinton, get their name on a list that they're available for a shift stipend like we put out, and they can vet them, and it will not be something, it does not need to be something that's very strenuous, but we need quality people that are certified, and let's get moving forward with that so that we can get these stations staffed, even with volunteers on the stipend program like we talked about. Right now, I would like to hold it in the daytime hours, and let's try to get these stations backfilled like that. So is that something that you can expedite?
We actually have several names already. We've had a good deal of interest in that fourth man program from the onset, and really all we would need to do is credentialing, vetting, physical agility, and we're ready to roll. Once we get scheduling piece lined out, which battalion chiefs can help us with that. But I think we already have a lot of interest and probably have several folks that are already certified and would meet all of our set requirements to move forward.
And we've already...
So that'll work, because we're coming up on the holidays, and we need to expedite this and get it in place before we have time to really vet them and like we're really wanting to do. So in an emergency type situation, I want to make that decision that we can do that. I know it's something that it's not on the agenda, but I want it known that that's what we need to do, and however we need to do it, it needs to happen.
Well, correct me, I thought, didn't we already approve the stipend? So we don't have to act on it, it just needs, the board doesn't, y'all do it.
Correct, the board has already approved that,
Yeah.
so it'll just be a matter of Catherine and all figuring out the pay scale and how we're going to do that, and we'll worry about the particulars later at the first of the year, then we will really kick it off. Jay, do you have something to add with it?
We were having a sidebar over here. We will figure out scheduling this week.
Okay, and we've already checked with our attorneys, right, that this is not a gray area. We're paying these volunteers a stipend, not a hourly pay. We're okay to do this, correct? Okay, I just wanted to clarify. Then, by all means, let's not forget Winona.
Terry, just for the record, just in case the board wants to know, just on the last two payrolls, you've had probably 20 to 25 out with COVID.
Wow.
Winona. Okay. Didn't want you to feel neglected. Last please.
Hey, Randy, if it's okay, I'd like to circle back one more time to Jackson. Is there anything we can do? I know that volunteer recruitment and retention is the hardest topic that we deal with in an organization like ours, but can we put banners? Is there anything we can do to help you get more volunteers? Because I can't imagine trying to cut it with 6.
We've been trying to get more volunteers for the last 5 years since we moved out there. That community, there's just not a lot of people that are interested in doing it. It's an older community, lower socioeconomic community. Like I said, there's just no one is interested out there. Most of our volunteers that we do have don't even live actually in the Jackson Fire District.
Okay.
Majority of them live just outside of UB.
I don't mean to speak on their behalf, but if you think of something that we can do to help, I think that there's stuff that...
The six volunteers that we have, 4 of them are truck drivers. And they go to work at like 4 o'clock in the morning. So those guys, after about 8 o'clock at night, those guys are not there.
Yeah.
They have to give us a word.
Just let us know what we can do to help you.
We now transition to item number 21. report from our HR department.
So let me put my glasses on because I'm not going to be able to see this. So y'all wanted me to report out on the new hires, who all we hired. So we hired 6 new lieutenants. That's going to be Caleb Snyder, Richmond Crumpton, Josh Britton, Trent Sloweski, I cannot say, Saluski, never can say his name. Brian Fairchild and Trevor Smurl. Those are our new 6 lieutenants. As far as firefighters, we have Jonathan Rodick, Luis, y'all are going to have to say it for me because I can't say this one either. I just call him Panda.
Villapando.
Okay. Brandon Butler, Robert York, John Moore, Ryan Jones, Christopher Warren, Matthew Green, Cody Barton, Mark Reed, Dylan Lassen, Colton Bowling, Jacob Edwards, Cody Holmes, Tristan Fairchild, Matt Sharp, Christopher Hancock, Matthew Norwood, Daniel McConnell, Ryan Cobb, Casey McClendon, Michael Kilgore, Michael York, and Hagan Brooks. And that rounds out all of your firefighters. Also, you wanted me to report on disciplinary actions. So I had 3 letters of reprimand this month. I also had 2 suspensions, and then we also had an issue with ADA, which they have been sent out to EAP, and they'll be attending a special EAP service. I think it's December 1st and the 2nd, which was being funded by the Smith County Firefighters Association, so it's no cost to our organization. And that was everything.
Thank you. Now our training report, item number 22.
Okay, we've had a very busy period of time, as always. We've been involved with several different things. Our firefighters throughout the district have participated in a big flow exercise where we had several of our tanker tenders come. I think they went to the Lake Tyler East boat ramp and drafted out of Lake Tyler. I think there were 37 firefighters at that event. The traveling road show that Flint was gracious enough to help us with, we have their forcible entry prop that they obtained through a grant, and we affixed it to a trailer and have traveled throughout a lot of the district during the week at this point doing forcible entry training, just sharpening up skills with the use of tools and things of that nature, and that will be making rounds to the drill nights as we move forward in the month of December. We did additional engine-to-door or rig-to-door hose deployments with those departments that had not had the opportunity to do that or that really wanted some additional exposure. So those have been going on at the fire department meetings. Our firefighters have also participated in wildland training, those that were not able to attend that in previous offerings. So what we've tried to do, and Captain Van Winkle's been very instrumental in this, is we've tried to develop a program a month at least ahead that we can publish and put out to all of our chiefs and all of the lieutenants in the stations with a predetermined time for each of these offerings. And the offerings are multiple. So if we're doing the forcible entry prop, we offer it 6, 7, 8, 9 times. And our hope is that within that month, no matter what district you serve in, you're able to attend one of those offerings. We feel like that this has done a multitude of things. First off, it has made scheduling for these guys who work all kinds of crazy hours and things a little easier to attend training and to get their hours in. The second thing that we've noticed is the interaction of different departments, whether it be the paid staff or the volunteer staff. All of the firefighters are working together at these things, and it's a really neat thing to see. It's really rewarding to see the intent of what we were doing come to fruition. And I think that it's doing so beautifully. I think it's evidenced by what Chief Harper's talking about on the fire ground there in Noonday, in the very first day that staff was there. And that was a cohesive effort by both volunteer and paid staff that was very impressive, and I think it reflects highly on the joint training that we're doing. We're going to continue to do that. We're going to ramp that up. Now we're going to move forward aggressively with our fourth man project, which I'm really excited about. And I feel like you're just going to see bigger and better things all the time from the efforts that these firefighters are putting forth together. And that's all I have.
I want to compliment you as well and your people. I've talked to many of the people that are sitting out in this room, and they've had nothing but good things to say. I think you've done a lot for something that has been lacking in our organization for a long time, and to know that they're pleased means a lot to me as well as the people that are working for us. I think it's done a lot, and I thank you.
Well, let me say it's an honor, and I have not found many things as rewarding as to see what has happened here. So it's good.
Thank you very much.
You were money well spent.
We now move on to our IT report. Larry?
Okay, so a while back y'all asked me to kind of provide a little more detail, so I think I've done that this month. Me and Robert collectively over the last month have deployed 5 PCs. We've replaced 5 uninterruptible power supplies, deployed 16 phones, 13 webcams, a new instant message and video meeting system at admin that we're starting to roll out to the other stations. We've processed 38 new user accounts, 2 new higher IT orientation training classes we put on. We completed fit tests for 36 personnel, completed upgrades of our back-end servers and applications, things like the My Account portal, the support portal, those applications. Responded to 7 open records requests or subpoenas. We replaced 3 printers, repaired 2 gas detectors. I wrote the new job description, updated in Rob's job description. We participated in the design of the new battalion chief and captain apparatus and procured the required equipment for those. I took a trip to Houston with Terry to look at that truck and make sure it was getting set up the right way for the IT equipment. We investigated and procured and provisioned the new expense tracking system that accounting's using. We're going to start rolling that out to all of our administrative personnel as well as anybody that's allowed to make purchases for ESD2. It's going to streamline the way that accounting's getting the receipts and information in, help her process that in better time and keep track of those receipts. We're also participating in several ongoing projects. We have the trial program of the possible replacements for the gas detectors that we're using. We have a lot of issues out of these gas detectors that we're using, so we're evaluating some possible replacements. We have a loaner unit, a demo unit from one of the vendors that the battalion chiefs have right now that they're testing out. We're investigating possible replacements to bring to the board for QuickBooks, as well as some possible upgrades to our server OSs and Microsoft Office. And we're doing a feasibility study right now on a point-to-point link between the Dixie Station 2 and Red Springs Station 2 and our current point-to-point network. Those would be 2 new towers, and then relaying off the Jackson Heights Tower if those feasibility studies are successful. And on top of all that, we've resolved 55 tickets this month. Unless y'all have any questions for me, that's all I got.
I do have one just for in there it was fit test.
Yes.
Do y'all do the SCBA fit test?
Yes.
I did not know that was our IT department.
Yes.
Wonderful.
We're also working on a solution especially now that we'll have the new staff position. What we're doing now is anytime somebody comes in for a new account, we're doing the fit test right then. But then we're also supposed to be doing those every year. So we're going to work on maybe having their ID cards have an expiration date on it that can remind them when to get a fit test. They can come in and get the new ID card and the new fit test at the same time. And that'd be volunteers and paid crew.
I think you did 36 personnel on that fit test. Are we 100% fit tested throughout the county for every?
No.
What are we lacking? Who?
Quite a bit, because we just took this over probably early last year. I mean, we haven't been on it very much, so there's probably a lot of volunteers that have never been tested.
Okay, and go ahead. I'm sorry.
So when we got the new air packs, 2 years ago, year and a half ago, everybody that was going to wear an air pack was pretty much fit tested for the most part.
I thought so.
Anybody new since then, and then any new rounds of fit testing that needed to be done, since then have not been completed. That's what they're starting to ramp up.
I got you. Good deal. When do you expect to get us to 100%?
I'm not sure. We're early on in trying to pull this in. We just got that whole new area set up back there where we could pull that out and set that up in a permanent kind of scenario. So we're going to have to work with the volunteer chiefs and try to schedule them to come by and get those done for the volunteers. For the paid crew, it's not going to be that difficult. We'll just coordinate that with the battalion chiefs. The hard part's going to be getting the initial fit test done. That may be something we go ahead and make mobile, and it may be something we can, as we're issuing new radios, when we're doing the radio replacement project, maybe a good time to piggyback on that and do both at the same time. We take it to the department, do a one-for-one radio swap, and do a fit test at the same time.
Yeah, I think that, I know you have a long priority list, but I'd hate for us to have not had that done and something happen for some reason.
Chief Baker, do you have a question?
Yes, sir, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've got a couple of people with fit testing, and they need the smaller mass that we're supposed to got. Are we in the process of trying to buy some smaller mass for these new airbags? No. I've got two people that require the small ones, and they haven't received them. I don't know if the other chiefs are in the same boat as I am. I don't know.
And I hate to actually, I'll ask you the question when you do your report.
Okay, all right. Moving right along to Chief of Operations report, item number 24.
Okay, we're working right now to get all of the staffing expenses moved to a separate account, separate checking account. We had a conference call today with Golub, Morgan, and Petty, and we're working to get it to where anything to do with staffing will come out of a total separate checking account than the general account. That way we can track the cost and expenditures for staffing. So I think that's going to work real well. I don't think that we've met since Charles and me and JD went to Sky Ranch. We met with Sky Ranch about 3 weeks ago, I guess it was, and they're looking at the possibility of trying to procure some land up there around the Sky Ranch area, possibly on the Sky Ranch proper. All of this is in planning stages, and there's nothing concrete yet, but we are moving forward with trying to get something up there and getting if nothing else, a temporary building. I mean, this will be something that we can talk about sometime later on, but we have got the ball rolling. Sky Ranch seems to be very active in trying to get something going. Charles?
I talked to Mike McGuire today. He's the director of Sky Ranch that we met with, and he's talked to his CEO, which is very interested in getting us going up there. They were off last week for Thanksgiving, and the board's going to meet and discuss it, and they said they'd get back with us, but they've offered us a heck of a deal up there, like Terry said, so I think it'll improve.
Okay, that'll be something that'll come up next year for the new board, and we'll hopefully be able to build out something up there. I'm not really sure how it's going to look, but we are moving forward on that. I think Larry may have touched on it about a new financial package to replace QuickBooks. We had a webinar or go-to-meeting or whatever with a company, I'm not even sure what company, but they showed us a kind of an overview of this package, and it has got an extremely good budget package. I mean, I'm very encouraged with it so far, and it's something that currently, our budget basically is a spreadsheet in Excel. This budget package, it drills down into the weeds. I mean, you can really get down in there and build out and project future and such as that. And it has modules in it that each like IT can have a module and they can build out a budget and then it combines it all together. I was very impressed, so, but we're looking at that. Also, we're beginning to have a head of department. When I say department, I'm not talking about the fire departments, I'm talking about IT, maintenance, operations, training, such as that. We meet as a department heads, and we come up with initiatives of what we want to do, a roadmap of where we want to go. And we had our first meeting, and we just talked a lot about different areas. Our goal is to try to have this meeting at least once a month, and I want to have 2 board members at the meeting, whoever that might be, so that they can be well versed on what we're looking at and what we're trying to do. So that's coming up in the future. So new board members or current board members here, we'll have a calendar and we'll try to put out the date when we have a department head meeting and invite at least 2 board members. So I think it'll open up to transparency and really be something good for what we're trying to do. I guess, and that's pretty much it.
I just wanted to ask on an update of, and I don't know who to be looking at on the gear. I know that there's still some gear that hasn't, am I understanding correctly that there's some gear that still hasn't arrived yet that's kind of overdue, or?
So pretty much everything we ordered back May, June, I believe is in.
Okay.
Is Captain, there he is.
Not particularly her, but she is one.
Paul was supposed to be going to Lion
Uh-huh.
sometime this week, and he was going to check on his other temporary.
Yeah, she's. I knew that was a mess up. That's not a problem. Do all of our people at Flint have gear? I know we talked a while back, and this is something that slipped my mind. And so we're good there. And that, okay, he's just the only one I've talked to. I didn't know if there's any. I want to make sure that all the other chiefs, y'all were. I'm micromanaging, and I shouldn't be. Thank you for taking care of that. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, the board will go into closed session. And we've pretty gone through our agenda tonight, but you say we'll be in closed session. And so we're going to be in adjournment. Board is now coming back into open session. Go ahead.
The one thing I need to talk about before we adjourn is we need to set a board meeting for probably the first for swear-ins. Get these guys sworn in before and filled in before the January meeting. Is that, because that's the next meeting we're going to have, is that doable to do it? I think we already have somebody that'll swear them in. Is that doable on the first? Like the first? Okay. Well, y'all are, you gonna do a 7 p.m.?
Yeah, we did that last time around 7 o'clock. Yeah, that'd give you time. Make any difference. Who y'all have
It's gonna be
picked
like a 5 or 10 minute deal. I'm not sure who the official is. I guess we'll go with him, but can we tentatively set a board meeting for 10 o'clock on the 1st? I think,
Yeah, we can.
is that a board meeting requirement? Like, is there a quorum required for that?
Just those that just sworn in.
Okay, so we don't have to do a 10.
I don't think you have to have a board meeting.
Okay, well then that's not necessary, I'm sorry. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we're gonna have, we'll just do it at the ESD office then, at 10 o'clock on the 1st. Well, very good, that's all I have.
The 4th? First and the 4th, okay.
All right.
Because you're not having one in December, you're gonna do it right after the first of. First, 4th, and 25th.
Okay. You ready? Are you ready now? Okay. Board meeting is adjourned. Good night.
Hey, look here. First,